Hey, welcome back to Right on the Money, your go-to resource for the financial topics that matter to you. Now, if you're just joining us, we're here with Rola Hajeb, Managing Director and Principal with Emerald Blue Advisors in beautiful Laguna Hills, California. Always great to have you.
It's a pleasure to be here.
I know. So we are talking about you. We're talking about your book, Blindsided. Don't forget 2 words when you're looking on Amazon because you want a copy of this. You talk about risk. And one of the risks you talk about, and you actually alluded to this in the last segment before we switched, is the loss of spouse. And that catches people blindsided. Can you talk about that in a little more detail?
Unfortunately, I've seen it more often than I would have liked to, you know. It's a risk that sometimes we don't think about, right? So we're planning our retirement. So we take a look at the couple, right? And there's Social Security, let's say, coming in for both of them. Or there is a pension that's coming in, right? Sometimes, if not unknowingly, these are mistakes that they don't realize they're doing. Mm-hmm. They pick the pension on a single life expectancy because it is more money, right? So what happens is if that spouse passes away, and this happened to us in our practice, a very young lady, 1 year into her retirement, she passed away, and the whole pension is gone, right? So then what happens? Luckily, they're well off in this situation that they could,
they can absorb it.
They can, exactly. Yeah. But what happens if one of the spouses passes away and that Social Security is gone? Now you're going to get the surviving spouse is going to get the higher of the 2 Social Securities, but still the other spouse's Social Security is gone forever. And if Social Security is 50%, let's say, of your income, then what percentage of your income just evaporated? It's gone. It's gone and you don't get it back. The other thing is that what I've noticed is when a spouse passes away, actually expenses go higher.
Oh, you have to tell me more about that.
So because what happens is you start traveling more. You start going out to dinners more. You do not want to spend as much time as at home.
By yourself.
Sure. So expenses tend to go up. You know, what expense would go away? It's the same house, possibly, most probably, the same air conditioning bill.
That's right.
You know, food is going to go down by a little bit, right? And maybe a car, but that's it. But all the other expenses, they go up. So I've noticed that on average, expenses go up by about 10%.
Oh my gosh.
If you will.
You know, the other part when I read that really stuck to me was, you don't even entertain that thought because thinking about the end is one thing, but thinking about going on without your spouse is just almost unthinkable to plan for.
It's devastating. When I've seen it happen, it's devastating for me to watch, let alone for that person to be going through it, because it's devastating not only on an emotional level, but then at the same time on financial level, if you have not planned for it. So when I look in my practice, when we look at a couple, I'm always making sure that if there's an income that's going to go away, that it's going to be, supported.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Well, let me ask you this. So as somebody who has helped literally thousands of people retire and stay retired successfully, how hard is it to bring that conversation up? I know I don't want to talk about that, but we have to.
It's as hard of a conversation as the long-term care, which we have to discuss. It's as hard of a conversation as bringing up premature passing also.
Yeah.
That's something that people don't think about. But when clients come in, I tell them, I'm going to have to be talking to you about hard conversations. If you're not comfortable, just let me know. But that's something you need to think about, right? And that's when we kind of talk about it. But everybody is very interested in talking about it. They're more interested in talking about that, I feel, that rather than a long-term care event.
Yeah.
Because long-term care event, they've already been thinking about it. It's all around us, right? But premature passing, people don't think about the financial ramifications of it, you see. So when I bring it up, I just say, well, God forbid something were to happen to you first, right? What would happen to the other to your other half. How is that financially going to
affect everybody?
Exactly.
Well, you cover that very well in the book. Another area that you touch on that I find fascinating that doesn't happen often is talking about Social Security, timing with Social Security, but for high net worth clients, because Gary and Allison are doing okay. They're doing pretty well in here. And a lot of times that conversation doesn't come up. How important does that play, the Social Security timing play for high net worth individuals?
It's absolutely crucial.
Really?
Absolutely. I mean, when you take a look at Social Security, whether we know it or not, Social Security could be tax-free. I mean, it's supposed to be tax-free till you get to a certain amount of income, which is not high at all.
Sure.
Especially when we're talking, let's say, in California, right? So, so when we're taking a look at that, not only it's the income play, but how is it going to affect your other income?
Yeah.
If you were to trigger Social Security before full retirement age, how much withholding is there going to be because of the other income that you're making? The other thing is the taxation of Social Security.
Yeah.
It gets when we take a look at our tax map in the office, when I run the plan and the software for the clients, we're taking a look at how does it affect how much sooner are you going to be taxed on those dollars, right, that you're making. It kind of accelerates taxation. And also, if we're thinking of a Roth conversion.
Yeah, let's talk about Roth conversions, because there's a fair amount of time that you do, this topic is brought up. I know that there are some big tax changes that are, some tax laws that are sunsetting in the next couple of years.
In 2025.
Yeah, Roth conversions are a big concern. Tell me about Roth conversions.
So, if we think that taxes are going to be lower down the road, then we should not be concerned about Roth conversions. So
it's just true. You know what? We don't even have to.
Yeah. No.
We don't even have to go political or anything like that. There's just a lot of things that have to be paid for. There's no way taxes aren't going to go up.
Exactly, and that's exactly why I talk about this. Yeah. Roth conversions are very important, especially for high net worth individuals, because if they have, let's say, a lot of money inside a 401k or an IRA or retirement account in itself. The law of the land today is at 73, you need to be taking a required minimum distribution when you turn 73. When you start taking the required minimum distribution of income that you do not need, right? So then what happens is you push all your other income, whether you have rental income or other types of income and Social Security, it's going to be pushing that possibly in a higher tax bracket. And of course, it's very individual. I mean, we're talking here as a general blanket statements, but that's why it's very important to take a look at each and every person's, situation and tax situation. This is why it's very dangerous to get advice from people who have not looked at your tax returns and have not, they don't know your specific situation. So Roth conversions become really important also when it comes, if the idea is a legacy transfer, because you're leaving tax-free money to your beneficiaries, to your children, if you will, etc.
Yeah, and that's why I'm just gonna shamelessly plug this book, because Blindsided does a great job of walking through. You literally are taking every step with Gary and Allison from the idea of like, well, maybe we should think about retiring, and then going through and walking through all these steps. And there's so many similarities when I was reading that. It felt so real. The last thing I want to ask you about the book, because this is something that like ripped from today's headlines. You end the book with a story of Mr. Sampson. And for those of you, when you get the book, you read about this, but Mr. Sampson, there's a conflict that happens with Mr. Sampson, and it's where you explain to him your fiduciary responsibilities. For those people, fiduciary, that word gets thrown around so much, but will you explain it and why it's important?
When we take a look at accumulation, right, we're basically taking a look at just saving. And we're saving money and putting as much as we can, and we put it for a growth situation, etc.
Absolutely.
When somebody is in a distribution phase or getting towards that, we need to find out, what is this money for? Okay, so somebody walks in and wants to give me let's say hundreds of thousands of dollars. How am I going to be investing that money if I don't know what's the money for, what's the tax situation,
Absolutely.
where are their assets, how they're... We have to make sure that we find out all the information in order for us to put, because of our fiduciary responsibility of giving the most suitable advice for the least amount of cost. I would not be able to do that. I'm just going to be taking the money, investing it. Let me give you an example. When I take a look at somebody's tax situation, if I see this money is going to be let's say the person says, I need income, or I don't need income. So I need to know, what am I investing it for? Income? No income.
Sure.
Tax-free income, municipals, etc., treasuries, risk tolerance. So there's a lot of information that we need to find out. I cannot take somebody walks in giving me, hundreds of thousands, and I would just say,
without knowing what impact it could have on the rest. Well, fact check me on this. If I understand things correctly, to be a fiduciary means that you have to, when you're working with a client, you have to put their needs, their interests ahead of your own, and you have to make those decisions in their best interest. I'm right on that, right?
Absolutely. You have to actually, to your best of your knowledge and ability, to give the most suitable advice for them, not a suitable advice, right? So you have to make sure that their interest their best interest is, the most important thing.
Even when they don't like it.
Even when they don't like it. Sometimes, for myself, if I don't know a tax situation, if somebody has an accountant, and we work with a lot of clients, they have their own accountant, all I need to know is, give me how much tax loss harvesting I can do, for example, in 1 year. Tell me how much room do I have for a Roth conversion, etc. And then we can do the rest from our end, right?
Yep.
But if not, we have to find out exactly where they are, specific to their situation, because we all are different. I guarantee you there are no two tax returns that are identical in this country.
Amen. It's a lot like if somebody came in and said, "Doctor, my knee hurts, and can you fix it?" And if you don't know everything else about them, you can't do anything.
If you don't want to take an X-ray or an MRI or something, then how can you fix?
How can you do the fixing? I have to tell you again. So one, if you've been paying attention at all, you know that Rola really knows exactly what's going on. And just talking to you now, and having read the book, following Gary and Allison's story. It's not a DIY world anymore when it comes to retirement and successfully retiring. There's so many moving parts.
So many moving parts.
If I'm out there and I want to reach out to you, the best way to get you, you said before, phone or email. We'll put them both up, but phone or email?
I prefer actually a phone call.
Okay.
Just because then it's interactive. I get to understand what they're asking for, what they're looking for. Because there's so many moving parts, as you know.
Absolutely. And lastly, Blindsided, 2 words, on Amazon. You can get your copy of it. It is an awesome book. I highly recommend it. And with that being said, Rola, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
It is an absolute pleasure. And for everybody else, don't forget that you can watch full Right on the Money Show episodes on our official YouTube channel or at rightonthemoneyshow.com. That's the spot where you can get up-to-date financial news and insights from the top insurance and financial professionals in your area. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.